Sadi, Kopen, Resh, Sinen, Shinen, Tav. Aleph, Bet, and Gimel, Dalet, Hey, and Bob, and Zion, Chet, and Tet, and Yod, and Kaf, Lamed, Nun, Samek, Ayin, Pei, and Sadi, Kof, and Resh, Sin, and Shin, and Tav.
Shalom everyone, this is Miss Shannon, and I know I'm usually here with a memory verse for you, but today I have a Hebrew lesson. Now, I know this might be a review for some of you, but I thought it would be fun to tell a few stories about our friends the Nikud, or the Hebrew vowels. Now, it's of interest to note that the Nikud system of vowels was not in the original biblical text. Rather, it was developed by the Masoretes later on as a means of sort of preserving the pronunciation of biblical Hebrew words, especially for those of us who don't speak Hebrew every day. So, in the original text, we kind of see that there was this physical aspect and the spiritual aspect. You have the physical Aleph Bet and the invisible vowel system. Another cool thing to note about the vowel system is that there are 3 letters in the Hebrew alphabet that can operate as sort of consonants and vowels. Can you guess what those 3 letters are? Yod, He, and Vav. The same 3 letters that are used in the Father's name. Which to me is pretty cool because even though the Father is spiritual, he reaches out to us in a very physical way, so both of these aspects are represented in his name. But since you and I are still learning Hebrew, we can't just work with the invisible vowels as well. It's a lot easier if we have this Nikud vowel system to work with. My Hebrew teacher told me some pretty fun stories about some of the vowels, and I thought it would be fun to make up some more and share them with you guys. So, once upon a time, there were 2 brothers. One was named Kametz, and the other was named Patach. Now, these brothers were so rough with each other. One day, Kametz decided he was going to use a hammer on his brother Patach. He hit him so hard he was flat, squished like a pancake. Patach said, "Ah!" And when he screamed, that startled Kametz, and he said, "Ah!" And then after a moment, he started feeling sorry for what he did. He went, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't have hit my brother." So Kametz says, "Ah." Or, in some cases, he says, "Oh." But most of the time he says, "Ah." Patach just says, "Ah." Next, I have a story about 2 cousins for you, Segol and Tzere. Now, Tzere was jealous of Segol because he had 3 dots, and Tzere only had 2. So whenever he saw Segol, he said, "Eh." Segol didn't care very much, so he said, "Eh." Segol says, "Eh." Tzere says, "Eh." Now, Tzere and Segol both have brothers. Segol has a brother named Kibbutz. Kibbutz has 3 dots, just like Segol, but one day he dropped one of them. Just as it was about to hit the floor, Kibbutz caught it. He was so impressed with himself that he said, "Ooh." Now he carries those dots around just like that so he can show off to everybody. Kibbutz says, "Ooh." Now Tzere had a brother named Sheva. Sheva and Tzere, much like Patach and Kametz, were quite rough with each other. One day, Tzere hit Sheva so hard it knocked him sideways. Ever since then, Sheva has never been quite the same. He gets really shy around other vowels sometimes, especially the weak ones like Patach, Segol, chilik, kibbutz, and comments whenever he feels bad about patach and said, oh. If he's after one of those vowels, or at the end of a word, he stays absolutely silent. But sometimes Sheva gets brave. When he knows it's his job to say something, he says it. But because he is still a little nervous, he says it really quickly. So, it sounds like eh. If he's at the beginning of a word, he knows it's his job to stand up and he says eh. If he's behind a strong vowel, like kametz, sele, or cholem, he feels a little bit braver and he says eh. If he's behind another shiva, the first shiva isn't going to say anything because he's scared to go first. But because the second shiva knows that the first one is scared, he's going to speak up for him and say eh. Now, if there's a shiva underneath a letter that has a dot in it, but doesn't change its sound because of the dot, shiva is going to make a sound for the letter and say eh. Now, because Shiva is so nervous, sometimes he likes to team up with other vowels. Sometimes you'll see him squished up with patach, or kametz, or segol. When you do see him squished up with another vowel, they make a really quick sound like ah or eh really quickly, because Shiva is still pretty nervous. Next, we're going to learn about chilik. Chilik is a teeny tiny little dot at the bottom of a Hebrew letter. Chilik is so teeny tiny that he can only manage to squeak out a little e sound. Sometimes chilik needs a hand saying his e sound because he can only say it short and quick. But when Yod comes along and gives him a hand, he can say a longer e sound, like e. Now I'm going to tell you the story of a very naughty Hebrew letter who's not allowed to say his V sound in this video because he was so very naughty. One day, Vav was walking along, and he saw a little dot in the air above him. It was a pepperoni pizza, but guess what? It wasn't clean. It was an unclean pepperoni pizza. Vav knew that it was unclean, but he was really hungry. So when he saw it, he said, "Oh, that looks so good." Because he decided he was going to be a naughty Hebrew letter, he ate that pizza. And guess what? It made his stomach hurt. So now he says, "Ooh," because it hurts his stomach. Now the other letters, sometimes they see that pizza in the air over their head too, and they go, "Oh, what's that doing there?" But they know better than to eat that pizza, so you'll never see it in their bellies. Now, you will find some dots in the bellies of Hebrew letters, but they don't make them say ooh like they do vav. They just make them say a different sound, like bet or vet, or they don't make the letter say a sound, but if there's a shiva underneath, then they make the shiva say a sound. Those dots are called dagesh lene or dagesh forte, which you can probably learn about some other time. Cholem says oh. Cholem vav says oh. Shulek vav says ooh. So there you have it, guys. The stories of the Hebrew Nikud vowels. I hope that it helps you remember what they say, that you'll remember the stories, and that they made you smile a little bit. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week, and Shabbat Shalom.